Anthony Trollope. This was my first novel by this author, and I decided to start with the first book in the Barchester series. So this is The Warden. It was published in 1855, and it revolves around a man named Septimus Harding, and he is the warden of a hospital for old people. This is a charitable institution set in the fictional city Barchester. I must admit, and this happens to me a lot, is that I was very much attracted to the cover design of this book. And by the way, all the other books in the series are just as beautiful. It is so Victorian and I love it. Now, the life of this warden gets turned upside down because one day a man called John Bold arrives in the city and he starts arguing that the money that the warden has been receiving all these years should have gone to the poor people of the almshouse. From there on, it evolves to legal and moral dilemmas. And one more complication is that the daughter of the warden falls in love with John Bold, and John Bold falls in love with her, Eleanor. And this is a lovely extra complication. These were actually my favorite parts of the novel. It took me a while to get into the story. I liked reading it, but I cannot say that I loved it. I am going to give book 2 a chance because I've heard many people say that the first book is actually the worst book in the series. So I'm very excited to give the second book a try. There's not really a villain in the story, and for me personally there should have been a little bit more conflict. I love conflict. I loved Eleanor's relationship with her father. That was a beautiful portrayal. I also loved the struggle that she went through between her loyalty to her father and her love for John Bold. I must admit that I would have been quite lost without the footnotes of this Penguin Classic edition. In the back there are a lot of explanations, and during reading this book there are a lot of words that are marked and where you can find the explanation of them in the back of the book because the words are out of use or you might not understand them, and they were so useful. I don't know how I would have managed to get through this without footnotes. Trollope also often refers to things in mythology or things about other stories, so it is super handy if you can just take a look at the footnotes and see what they mean. For example, Jewell's library, the footnote says, John Jewell, 1522-1571, became Bishop of Salisbury in 1560 and built a library for the cathedral. So there is a lot of history going on, and if you don't know, you kinda miss things. My only hope is that things will get more intense and there will be more conflict in the second book. Now the warden starts to struggle with everything that John Bold is accusing him of. He struggles with his conscience and he starts thinking he should give up his position as a warden, but then he would live in poverty and then he would harm his daughter Eleanor. Now he could also stay in his position as a warden, but then he would feel like living like a fraud. His conscience is a huge part of the story and I really liked that. Septimus Harding is a good man. He wants to do what's right and I really liked reading about him. Let me know in the comments if you've read anything by Anthony Trollope, and I would love to see you in one of my next videos.